Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 325. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, horns up.
And obviously Connor's not here, which you could probably see, or if you listen to the podcast, you could probably tell by the lack of, shite attempt at humor at the start, what he's like. But in a twist of fate, you're going to get him next week because he'll be here instead of Matt next week. So you're getting a Connor episode. Things are happening. This is a DC Comics podcast. I got more to tell you about the next couple of weeks, but I'll do that after I tell you what's coming up on this week's show. We're going to be talking about Detective Comics 1064, Action Comics 1047, DC vs. Vampires issue 9, Task Force Z issue 12, The Human Target issue 7, Sergeant Rock vs. the Army of the Dead issue 1, The Nice House in the Lake issue 10, and I've got a Patreon book to talk about, which is American Vampire issue 30. So that's what's coming up on the show. A nice healthy dose of books being discussed this week. A couple of updates on the next few weeks. So next week, Connor will be here instead of Matt. He does have some Patreon books to catch up on, so you're probably going to get a nice little hefty dose of those at the end of the show. So that's happening. And then the following week, I actually have the week off. So I warned you about this before, but what we're going to be doing instead, just so there's something going out that week, is a Q&A episode. So we're going to be recording that on Monday. Not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. So starting when this episode goes out, you've got a week to send in questions so we can have a Q&A episode, and it'll be myself and Matt doing that episode. So if you would like to send questions to @DC Comics Podcast on Twitter, or if you prefer email, you can use mftvquestions@gmail.com. Both of those should be in the description. But send questions to both of those for before Monday the 10th of October. That is your deadline. And we will do a Q&A episode. So there's something going out on the week off. The week after, any big books that were on that week will cover the following week. And then the rest of the books, we'll just wait until the next issue and talk about them then when it makes sense. So that's the plan.
Yeah. So of course the week that you're gonna be off is a Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and Gotham City Year 1.
Wait, is that not next week? The Gotham City Year 1?
Oh wait, no, that's next week. Not 2 weeks. Oh well, I'm missing those. Shoot. I didn't click enough. Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah. Also, Scott Skyder's new horror book's out next week. I'll need to tell Connor to read it.
Oh, yeah.
The Francavilla one. Night of the Ghoul, I think it's called, from Dark Horse. So, plan to cover that in the show next week because I want to read it and talk about it. So, that is cool. But yeah, that's the plan for the next couple of weeks. So, send in your questions at DC Comics Podcast on Twitter or mftvquestions@gmail.com, and your deadline is before the 10th of October. And we'll give you a nice Q&A episode before back to normal the following week. So that is the plan. Apologies for any disruption this has caused in your lives. I hand it over to Matt. I give him a pause, and he's like looking down at his phone, reading ice hockey results or something. I don't know what he's doing.
No, actually, I was talking to a friend real quick. So, yeah.
What? A friend?
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't approve of this.
Yes. It's one of my friends who wrestles in town, and last night he had a match, and he had a really creative finish, so I gave him props, and then he just messaged me back, so,
I'm glad the rest of that story implied that he was actually a professional wrestler and not just a guy who wrestles in town, which is what the start of it sounded like.
I didn't specify. I just said he's a wrestler.
He gets into fights in town,
Yeah.
Smash bottle here.
Yeah.
A chin there.
Yep. He's like Sheamus.
Oh dear. So
yes. Barroom brawler.
But yeah, welcome to episode 345.
Shambles already.
325, not 345.
I think me and Pete are both a little punchy today, so I'm a bit tired.
I'm just skipping over 20 episodes of numbering there. 325. So welcome to the show, and we will get into all the juicy stuff. But there's always time for a ComiXology top 10. And Matt, you're just lucky that I won't be able to like screenshot what the top 10 is the week I'm away, so I can do 2 top 10s the week after. So, because I wanted to get a double top 10 going.
I'd have been so mad.
I know you would have been mad.
I would have walked off. I'll deal with insults. I'm not dealing with 2 top 10s. One wants to know where my dividing line is.
So yeah, as is usual now on the ComiXology / Kindle chart, they're separated by days. So we look at just DC on their own the Tuesday, then we'll have a glance at the Wednesday for the rest of the industry. So what do you think the number 1 book from DC on ComiXology is right now from this week?
Seeing on what came out, I'm going to go Detective Comics 1064.
You're very wrong, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get a second guess. Hold on, let me look. I don't have a follow-up guess because that was... Is it Human Target, please?
It's not, no. Yeah, you'll be surprised where Tech is, actually. It's a little bit lower down than you probably think. Number 1 is Batman Beyond the White Knight.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's selling well. Number 2 is The Human Target, issue 7.
Okay.
So it's doing well. It's doing very well. Number 3 is Action Comics 1047.
Hey.
Number 4 is DC vs. Vampires, issue 9. Number 5 is Tim Drake Robin, issue 1, which neither of us read, but Connor's been forced to read it, so you should hear about that in the near future.
How many of those were him?
He's got multiple Amazon accounts. He's just like, I'm going to buy as many as I can. Number 6 is Detective Comics 1064, which is quite surprising. I don't know if that's like a bad sign or if it's just that some of the other books are overselling than expected. But definitely not what I'd have expected. Tech's usually at least in the top 5. Number 7 is Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes, the final issue. That's right, still a thing.
That's a book.
Number 8 is Superman The Space Age, issue 2. So, for a $10 book, not too bad, I suppose. And then number 9 is Sergeant Rock presents... DC Horror presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. That is number 9. And then number 10 is Batman Fortress, issue 5. Which means just missing out the top 10 is Nice House in the Lake. And then number 12 is Task Force Z. So, with the Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country coming in at 13. So, a lot of DC books this week. So, cool. Harley Quinn's quite low in the list. Oh, I don't know if that came out this week. Maybe that's just like a... No, because this is sorted by release date. Yeah. Okay.
I did.
So I guess Harley's just not selling as much as it used to. DC Mech is down the gutter. That's at like number 20. Which, it's below the Human Target Volume 1 trade.
Right.
So, not doing too hot. But not that I expected that book to have like mass appeal, but still, it's just interesting to know. I'm also noticing here's a scroll up to get the Wednesday stuff that there's a Werewolf by Night Masterworks Volume 1 out from Marvel.
That makes sense.
Because they got the special coming out, yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, so Wednesday for the rest of the industry, which is probably mostly going to be Marvel, but there's a couple other things in here. Number 1 is Axe Avengers issue 1.
I didn't see that on there. I saw X-Men, but
number 2 is X-Men issue 15, so not too far behind. Number 3 is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 100. It's a $10 book. I guess that's been
$1 a page.
Yeah, I guess that's been going long enough for... But it's not $1 a page, that'd be $100.
That's not what I meant. I thought you were going to let it go. And, yep.
That's a pricey comic.
Yep.
But yeah, 10 cents a page, if my maths is adding up. So... That's cool. I feel like that has been going long enough to be issue 100, but at the same time, I think if I stop and actually process it, I'm like, it's been over 5 years. Maybe even closer to 10.
Oh, dang, there's a Shang-Chi book. I had no idea. I never usually scroll this far down.
Oh.
So I'm seeing stuff that's
reaching new depths of discovery. Yeah.
I didn't get to go into the shop this week, so all my books I got digital.
Oh,
so
right. Okay.
I had to see what else came out. Where was Thor at in that?
Well, I've not finished it. I've only done the first 3.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense.
Number 4 is Amazing Spider-Man issue 10 with a beautiful John Romita Jr. cover.
I've seen worse, but I've also seen better.
I've seen a lot better.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Thor issue 27. So there's your Thor book. Number 6 is the Defenders Beyond issue 3, which is a 5-issue mini, so just issue 3 of 5. Number 7 is Thunderbolts issue 2, also a 5. Number 8 is Ant-Man issue 3 of 4. Number 9 is Old Dog issue 1. This is the Declan Shelby original, so that's sneaking out of the top 10. And then number 10 is Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 42, which is still by Saladin Ahmed. That run's been going for a little while. That's a good, like, I don't know, 3 to 4 year run now. So very good. So, cool. I want to note here that Lazarus Risen is number 12 here on the Wednesday chart. And I have to say, I've loved what I've read of Lazarus. It's just one of those things where the inconsistent schedule just made me want to wait to read it.
There's that. Yeah, there's that, and it went up to like a quarterly shipping. And it's a pretty in-depth story to only do 4 times a year. Yeah. So I'm waiting for these collections to come out before you get caught back up.
Yeah. And they are bigger, issues, these quarterly issues. But it's a lot. It's hard to. I think when you're dealing with these original characters, I'm feeling it a little bit with Nice House in the Lake. It's hard to remember all the characters when you're waiting months between the issues. So no, it is worth mentioning. But yeah. So there you go. That is the thing. Yeah, there's a Shang-Chi book, although it's down at number 16. That's hitting that. So hey, I'm delighted to report that Star Wars Dr. Aphra is down at like 21.
Man, remember when people thought that she was showing up on The Mandalorian?
I mean, I don't.
That was pretty funny.
I'll take your word for it.
They got the girl that played Quake. I forget her name off the top of my head.
Oh, Daisy Johnson. Oh no, that's the character. Hold on. Oh my god. Oh, this is gonna kill me. Chloe Bennett.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I remember seeing a casting list and she never showed up. She's never been cast, and it was just one of those things that the internet jumped on and then ran with. So I always think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, nothing too exciting. It's one of the things though. Now that we're maybe doing the odd non-DC book, I specifically checked what's coming next week before we started to see if there's anything. And that Scott Snyder book's the one that was kind of on the radar is next week.
Yeah.
Nothing in that chart that's making me go, oh, I wish we'd cut that. So
yeah, I'm checking now, but my computer's being slow, so that's fine.
The computer's always been slow. You have a potato.
No, this is my laptop. It's fine, but the League of Comics page has been acting up lately, at least through my end. So sometimes I have to stop and reload. The only real issue is when we do solicits and the pictures don't all load. That drives me a bit nuts.
Yeah, because then we have a game of Peter describes the covers for Matt.
Yep.
Who then gets jealous. So I'll just mention, since we brought up a Star Wars book there, on our sci-fi podcast, the Atomic Cinema Experiment that I did with Tara, we just did the first Star Wars movie this past week. So you can get the podcast obviously via podcast apps, or you can get it on Mail Fuzz Movies, the YouTube channel, whatever suits your fancy.
To be a dummy, I was going to say, you watched episode 1? But I chose not to.
Yeah, I'm going to watch them in order of release. This is...
Yes. Yeah, you mean the proper order. I see people running that through. Like, that's how one of my friends introduced the movie to his daughter, and I don't. It's the Vader reveal. Just, come on.
Yeah, prequels are made as prequels because they're made with the idea that you've seen what they're prequeling. Like, something being like Terminator 1 is not a prequel to Terminator 2. It's its predecessor, but it's not a prequel.
Right. So, like, yeah, that was just one of those things where it was like,
But yeah, all right. I thought I'd just do a cheap plug since there was something relevant in there. Also, it's October, so I should promote Screams After Midnight because it is the month of horror. The first Screams After Midnight of the month, of which there should be about 2 a week for the month, was Hellraiser Judgment, which would have come out yesterday when this goes out publicly. The 10th Hellraiser movie, the last one before the new one that's coming out in the next week or so. I encourage you to to not watch it, but watch the review and have a chuckle at what we tell you happened in it, because it's terrible. That's my advice.
Hey, we're 13 days away from Halloween ending.
Oh god, so... don't even remind me. But we got a bunch of things coming up this month on Screams After Midnight. We'll be looking at Nope finally. We'll be looking at the new Hellraiser. We'll be looking at the final Leprechaun movie, Leprechaun Returns, amongst other things. So make sure you have a look.
Is it an October-thon this year?
Yeah, it's a bit more muted. You know, Tim having the kid, and plus me taking the week off really hampers our recording slots. But we're doing more than usual for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'll be tracking stuff down to watch. You know, so hopefully some newer things.
Yeah, you should. Because you enjoyed the first Hellraiser so much, Matt. You should watch. Yeah,
I'm good.
Hellraiser 2 and 3.
It's not for me, and that's okay. If you like it, no judgment. It is not for
like
me.
it. I love it. It's great.
I'm glad you like it. It wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. I thought Pinhead figures in a lot more.
You thought it was going to be a boring slasher villain just killing people like every other horror movie. No,
not a slasher villain, because I know there's the S&M vibes and stuff. But I thought the puzzle box was more of this like MacGuffin type thing that they're struggling over, and it's not that at all. It's definitely a different kind of horror movie. So, what did I just watch this week that was notable for Pete? I had watched something for the first time.
Notable for me.
Yes. Oh, great. Now my notes app is acting up.
Was it a Neil Breen movie?
I don't think so.
Trust me, you would know if it was a Neil Breen movie, man.
Yeah. I did not write it down, so that is great. Huh.
This is great radio, Matt. It
is great radio.
This is delightful stuff.
What did we watch? I'm trying to think. I know I told you I watched The Wolfman.
We'll sit here for 30 minutes while Matt remembers what I watched this week.
We're gonna watch Frankenstein. Yeah, something you would have been proud of because it was an older.
Something I had to be proud of.
Yeah, I can't remember now. So
this is why
I haven't watched Phantasm this year.
Oh, you should watch Phantasm. Yeah, you absolutely should. Finally. And watch at least Phantasm 2 as well.
Both of them?
Yeah, Phantasm 2 is the aliens to Phantasm's alien.
So there's more little silver balls, is what you're saying.
I mean, not necessarily more, but just the vibe of it definitely takes a turn into quadruple barrel shotgun.
Gotcha.
That's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, we've been watching a countdown of greatest horror moments and things. So Phantasm's popped up, a bunch of stuff that I've been meaning to watch over the years. So
yeah, I'll have to look at that list and see if I've seen everything on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's through Shudder, so they're through 4 episodes now. They're doing about 13 per, but that's not going to go into 100 evenly. So, but yeah, there's been some good ones in there so far. A lot of older stuff that I'm adding to the list that I want to watch. A lot of stuff. So like I'm talking about so far, Dawn of the Dead's the only one to have 2 moments pop up from the original. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure we'll see a lot more repeating coming up. So, but yeah, the Friday the 13th moment that came up was the fake out ending in the rowboat. Okay. That was so far that's been the first Friday the 13th representation. There's been no Michael Myers yet. There's Freddy, the body bag scene in the school from Nightmare 1. So, but yeah. And Phantasm, they just kind of talked about the whole movie in and of itself. It wasn't just a folk, but they compared it to being in a fun house. And it's more of an experience than a watch. I was like, well, I better watch this now because I know both Pete and Tim talk highly of it.
Oh yeah, Phantasm's great.
Yeah.
So it's one that I've appreciated more as well as time's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Also very unique actually. It's not unique in a way that I think will put you off like Hellraiser is, but it's unique in terms of it's not just bad guy killing people. There's more of a weird plot to it. So
have you ever seen the Sorority House Massacre? That one's on Shudder.
I've seen a lot of movies that end with the word massacre.
Yes,
I'm thinking.
Because I remember you've told me I need to watch Slumber Party Massacre too, which is going to happen.
Slumber Party Massacre is definitely very good. Well, yes, well, it's a slasher. I don't know if it's good, but it's right. The second one's also very much worth watching. I've seen The House in Sorority Row. I've seen. I want to say I might have. I'd have to check. I'd have to like go into the records and double check. But I have Letterboxd like a civilized person. I can check what I've seen. Unlike Matt over here.
Yeah, no. I keep a list on my phone, and when I can't find that list, it makes me angry. So, you know.
You realize you're living in like 1992 for no reason at all.
Yeah, it's 1992 and I'm not old yet. It's great.
There's too many technological wonders, Matt, in 2022. I have to enjoy.
Technology scares me. I'm getting to that age where I was just like, no, man. So...
Yes. Also, Connor's starting to feel the dread because he's 28 and he's realizing that he's hitting 30 in 2 years. So,
30's fine. 35 is the one that wrecked me. That's where I ended up having a full down meltdown. And I don't even think it was an age. It was just a rough point in my life. And 35 hit me like a sack of bricks and then pushed me down the stairs. So, About 30 is when I started to develop really the anxiety issues. So it's creeping up on him earlier. You know, the existential dread. But, you know, and it's a good thing that the dose for that isn't a needle, because that would just, you know, he'd never get better.
Although, do you want to hear a fun joke? So, so his girlfriend got a kitten, right? Which Connor's not happy about for various reasons. He's also partially allergic, so they had to buy like an air purifier and other things. But the best thing about all this is that he needed allergy medication, right? And I said, at no point did she like reconsider getting the cat because of all this stuff, and not once. Not once. But the best part of all this is that the regular, most common allergy medication that comes in pill form, he can't take because it's got lactose in it. So he has to pay like triple the price for a syrup that he can take instead. That isn't.
Oh, I thought you said he was gonna have to get shots.
No. But he's having to pay like, because I think he said the pills were like, oh, you could get a month's worth for like $2.50, but this syrup's like £7 a week. So that's actually more than triple that I think about it. It's way more than triple, but
that's. I mean, how bad is lactose? Because for the price, I think you could deal with the little. Eventually, your body would get used to it.
Well,
right?
If I recall correctly, about a year and a half ago at New Year's, he got drunk and ate some sour cream Pringles and was up all night vomiting as a result. So, and I can't imagine that sour cream Pringles have a high amount of lactose versus like actual dairy products. So
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's the most Connor problem of all time.
Oh dear. Yes. One day a dog just coated in milk's going to run after him.
He'll never run faster in his whole life.
Coated in milk with like some syringes just like taped to its back. Just the ultimate Connor nightmare machine.
Man, you just described his Pennywise.
I'm just imagining Connor's like caught in one of Jigsaw's traps. And he's like, Connor, you want to play a game? You'll have to stick yourself with that needle. Which is filled with lactose.
Oh my god. It's give yourself the shot or drink the cup of milk.
He would drink the milk. I think he would accept the vomiting over taking the needle.
Yeah.
So
man. So funny. We shouldn't laugh at his misfortune, but it's Connor, so what are you gonna do? And the fact that Paige still got the cat knowing he was gonna have to go through all this stuff is also
I think they thought that he might be over it beforehand because he spent a week at like a pet shelter for work experience or something.
Okay.
Several years ago.
Did she ship him over there?
Yeah. And he was fine for that week, but obviously after having the cat for a couple of weeks, he's the signs have shown. So
that's so funny.
So he's got an air purifier that automatically turns on when it detects that there's too much fur there.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I should get one of those. My cat, not that I'm allergic, but my cat, she's long-haired, and so her dander gets everywhere. So if I go lay where she just was, you know, I get all, stuffy. So I wonder if having something like that would be nice.
I mean, I have 3 cats, so every so often I'll get what's basically like an indoor tumbleweed of like fluffing cat fur just appearing on the floor somewhere, and I'll just see it roll past, and I'm like, God damn it! Have to sweep and vacuum so much when you got cats.
Mm-hmm.
They really amp up the build up.
My lab would shed a whole dog a week, and we had tile, so I was constantly sweeping, constantly vacuuming, just and it was all year. And it's not like he had a shedding season. We're still finding hair from him, and he's been gone for almost 3 years. So
that's pretty damning.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we'll get to the comics then for the week. So we'll start off with Detective Comics 1064, Ram V writing with Rafael Albuquerque on the art. Obviously, the coming Prince Azur, what was his name? I'll get it when I look at it in a second.
Yeah, well, it's Orgum, right? It's the...
Well, that's the lesser name, yeah. But, yeah, so... we have them coming, their big arrival, which is kind of what the issue's building up to. The ship's pulling into dock, basically, at the end of the issue. But we actually start off the issue with it's like a flashback to Talia and Damien training, and Talia telling this story of this character from history / mythology, and how he was like devout to the gods and had to walk across the desert. But had a demon tied to him, and it's hard not to compare this. The demon's tied to him, and he's always wrestling the demon internally, like to Batman, right? And the idea.
Well, it was every time the sun went down, the demon and him would struggle.
Yeah.
And he was the grim knight, and he had done everything he could in the mortal world, and so he'd set across to earn the favor of the gods. And one of the trickster gods, put him on this impossible task of crossing this desert. Tied to this demon, and
notably it started off with it was like his ex who suggested to the gods to give him this task. So I think it's almost like this ex is representing Talia. If we're saying that this Farad guy is representing Bruce or Batman, then perhaps she represents Talia. But at the end of the story, when he gets back, so much time has passed that the love of his life has died of old age. So he curses the gods and wants the gods to end. So he stays there and waits. So there's now this monument there, and it kind of represents that the end of the gods is near, kind of thing. So, I think thematically there's some interesting things that are introduced here with the idea of Batman going against this royal family and them being the last of this kind of type of nobility in line. Not literally gods, but for all intents and purposes in the context of the story. I think that's kind of fascinating.
And it's very Ram V from what we've read in Swamp Thing and Catwoman.
Sure, yeah.
He likes to do these kind of fables. And I don't know if this is based off of anything, off of a story that he knows, from history or whatever. It felt very much so. This is the type of stuff that when I was in college and World Lit, we would have these little tiny, epics within an epic. And this is what this felt like. So that was really cool. But I was definitely getting the similarities to Batman. As she was telling the story, almost as if she was kind of tailoring the story to Damien to be about his dad.
Yeah. So, it's interesting, just the idea of these old ways persisting, and that this character represents the force that's trying to change them. It's kind of sets up thematically really nice, like what Batman's probably ultimately going to be doing in this story. But we cut to him at the doctor's, and the doctor's complaining that he's got so many broken bones. He's not really sure how he's even walking, never mind in fit shape that he is.
He's like, and a lot of this is fresh. What have you been doing, sir?
Yeah. It's a little because Batman, but it's also played for laughs for the most part, so I can kind of roll with it. You've got bones that have not healed correctly. You've got all sorts of weird shit going on.
Your hands alone, there's an x-ray of his hands, and they're all jacked up from just years of punching criminals. But he's not just at the doctor's for himself. He's there to scare the bejesus out of one of the guys from the last issue.
Yeah, it's very Dark Knight Rises. When Bruce goes to the doctor's to go speak to Gordon. Obviously, he's not interrogating Gordon in that case, but similar vibe. he puts on the balaclava, he questions the guy, and it ends up leading him to this, building where Talia ends up being. What I thought was interesting about this whole thing, though, is that Batman, as he's fighting Talia, kind of realizes that this is a distraction. It's, she's staying and fighting when she knows she can't win because she's keeping him from somewhere else. I kind of like the implication that perhaps, like, you could read this as she's doing this because she wants this royal family to come to Gotham and be unimpeded by Batman. But the feeling I got by the end, especially the way the last couple of pages play out, was that it was more like she was trying to keep him here because she didn't want him to go fight them because she didn't want them to lose. Like, she was, in her own weird way, she was trying to protect Batman.
Yeah. No, that's how I read it too. Yeah. Is that she knew that he's not going to stop in this family. He knows nothing about them, right? Like, he has no intel yet. And they would, wipe the floor with him. And so it was her own weird, Talia way of keeping him safe. And I like that because we've gotten so much on the Talia and Bruce as kind of co-parents that we forget that, she still has affection for him.
Yeah.
Like, she runs a terrorist organization or whatever.
It sells how bad this family is if Talia sees them as bad. If Talia is looking at them and going, oh no, I want Bruce to be safe from them. Because we cut to the docks and like Mayor Nakano and Commissioner Montoya are there, and I like that all this continuity from the last run has been kept intact. Ram V doing a good job there. But we see again some of these villains on the boat. Gale's the one who's been off doing something. Arzen's the sort of the main young prince that we're kind of like following from the boat. But they're basically like, hey, the League of Shadows is here, or the League of Assassins, I should say, are here, and we see them like popping up out of the water. And gunfire is erupting, Montoya's here, and the big ending of the issue, and I really liked how this issue ended. I mean, because this was definitely a quieter setup issue, but I think the tease that I got at the end here, where, we won't react. We'll just let them make their play. We'll let this all play out. Because then the final line is, we'll wait for Gotham to show its hand. And as he says that, we see Batman effectively rising from the rubble of the building that landed on him and grappling up. So it's this idea that what they're waiting on is for Batman to like make his first like move and appearance to them. Like that they know he's here and they're coming, and they know that they have to deal with Batman if they're coming to Gotham. So it was a kind of an epic build-up moment. It was like, oh, I'm excited now to see what this first confrontation is like between them and Batman.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Also, we kind of skipped over in the doctor visit.
Sure.
Is that he tells them outside of his physical stuff, there's nothing internally wrong with him. And the doctor suggests, like, are you maybe having panic attacks?
And Bruce, of course, is too proud. He's like, panic attacks. F that. No. I'm not doing that. I'm a man.
And as someone that goes through that occasionally, initially that is the, at least for me, if there's any similarities between me and Bruce Wayne, it's that we both were like, no, I can power through that.
I think you're a lot closer to Bruce Wayne than you are Clark Kent, and I think that eats you up inside.
Oh, it does. It's why my favorite character on Ted Lasso is clearly the Batman. Right? It's Roy Kent, because he's a grumpy guy. But yeah, no. And I also feel like that plays into the Talia stories. Talia knows he's not 100% either, so she can tell. And that's why she's kind of keeping him away from this, because at his current state, he is no match for this family.
Also, I kind of love the idea of Batman dealing with getting panic attacks and like him having to work through that. So obviously, because this is not over, him dismissing it in this scene is not the end that we're hearing of this. Like, it's coming back.
It's gonna pop up at the worst time, and it's going to cost him an edge. Yeah,
he'll probably nearly die because of it. He's probably going to be he's going to need saved by someone. Probably.
And this is why I appreciate Ram V, because he does get into this type of stuff where him not dealing with it is what's going to be his downfall.
Yes.
Right? And so it's the fact that he's going to have to listen to other people and, maybe take a step back
You could compare this to the Farad walking across the desert and thinking he can do it. This is Batman saying, oh, I can just ignore this and I can just push through. Right? I can brute force it and it'll be fine.
Right.
And no.
And as we know with tech as it's been, is it's kind of the Bat family book. So I'm wondering if this is what's going to lead to him like taking a back seat and kind of being more of a general than a field.
I don't know. It feels like it's swapped though. I feel like since the new runs have started, it feels like the Bat family are popping up more in Batman, and Tech's been more just Batman focused.
True.
So it may just be the opposite now for a while.
Yeah, but
which is fine. Because I don't really care which one's which. As long as as long as I'm served by both, I'm quite happy. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So and it's Ram V and Chips at RC. So either way, we win.
Aye, we're in good hands. Yeah.
Right. So. But yeah, no, I liked all that, and the art here, it's still really keeping that gothic vibe, with the story. I mean, I don't know if gothic you would describe that story at the beginning, but once we start getting to Gotham and like the hospital, and there's a darkness to all the art, and I really really enjoy that.
Yeah. It's been very consistent. Obviously, we've had Albuquerque in all the issues so far of the arc, and hopefully that can stay consistent.
Yep.
Albuquerque, to be fair, from my memory, I feel like he is quite good at keeping a monthly schedule. Maybe he'll take like an issue off between arcs to get ahead.
He's good for 6 in a row, and then there's usually a break, and then he'll be back. Yeah. So, which is pretty standard for comics, right? Is 25 and 6 issue arcs.
So no, very good. I like I say, I think that last page, the way you just see there's the one panel of just the rubble, and then the panel of the hand coming up with the grapple gun. And then that big glorious panel of Batman swooping up, and like that being like, oh shit, he's coming. He shouldn't, and he's probably going to lose or learn that he's up against something serious that he can't just win instantly. I always enjoy a story where Batman's a little bit in over his head and has to like be humbled and readjust. Right. I'm usually into those stories, so
right.
Very good stuff. I did not read the backup this month. I had trouble remembering, because I had trouble last time remembering the previous part of the backup, and then this time I had trouble more so. I was like, I'll just leave it. But it's a shame because Danny's art's pretty cool and works for a gritty Gotham story. But what are you rating Detective Comics 1064?
I'm gonna give this one an 8.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think it's a solid 8 out of 10. It's a quieter setup issue, but it's a very good quieter setup issue, which has some great themes, and the ending did leave me excited for what's to come next. So can't really ask for much more than that.
Nope.
All right, Action Comics 1047, Philip K. Johnson writing with Riccardo Federici back on art, which I was surprised to see him because for the first issue of the next arc. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's here because. Yeah. His art lends like a weight to the story that you miss in more traditional comic art. Like, see when I went to the backup, the whiplash I got going to this really simple cartoony art style, and that's not a knock on the artist or anything. It's
still good art, but compared, it's comparing Norman Rockwell to to a cartoonist. They're both equally good, but they're so different that you do get whiplash.
Yeah, it's like watching. Like a David Lynch movie and then immediately sticking on like an MCU movie. Like, you go from this really artfully unique thing and then you're like, oh, now it's like just bright colors and typical stuff.
Yeah, and I'm so used to Federici doing like this dark, like fantastical stuff. So to see him draw a robot and then just kind of like typical, Superman being human scenes, it's such a nice counter to everything that we just saw in Warworld, that it really sets this arc up differently.
Yeah, and obviously the Warworld stuff is a big effect on this because a lot of it just stems from the fallout of that. Yep. But I think this issue is a knockout of the park. I loved this issue, and I think I'm so excited about seeing more of this. And I'm curious to see how this balances, because obviously this is crossing back and forth between this and Superman for a couple of months. Obviously that means Federici's not going to be doing the art and all of it, because there's just no way. But we'll see. We'll see how it shapes up. I still wonder if we're going to get like maybe more of a focus on John and his issues, and it'll still feel kind of separate, even though they're technically part of one big story. So the opening of the issue is a woman going to Stryker's Island to visit someone, and we see this robot, and Metallo was probably my guess, but it wasn't really confirmed until later on in the issue who it was.
The fact that she called him Johnny. And I started running through my mind, I'm like,
so
John Corbin, it's gotta be Metallo. But it's not like there's any like talk that it's Metallo. She's just talking to her brother.
Yeah. And this is so cool because he's only got one working arm. He's just sitting there. It's kind of sad. He's hooked up to a laptop where he can sort of put text up on to talk to people, and that's all he's really got. But the way, like, I think Metallo was a far more interesting character after this issue than he was before it for me. At least I don't remember such a great Metallo story where I got this sense of sadness and sympathy because his sister does really care for him, and he, you know, he just kind of feels sad, and it does feel like this tragedy that he's like this, even though he obviously did some bad things. And that's more, and I'll get to why a bit more so for the ending, but like
Lex runs it down all the bad things he's done. You're like, oh yeah, there's a reason he's in Strikers.
But you know, it's really sad and somber, and I think
it's when she talks about being on the bus when they're kids, and him talking about the double sun when the moon's out, when it's a really clear day, and you can still see the moon in the sky, and she's just talking to him like he's a human, right? And she's talking to her brother, not to this machine. And it reminded me that Metallo still started life as a human, right? He's not Brainiac. He's not any of these other Superman villains that are. It's
possible to sympathize with who he is, and I think that comes up a lot in the ending. So we'll get to that in a bit. But you know, we see this quick page of what looks like Warworld appearing in the sky, and then we skip ahead a week later. The backup actually goes into more detail about the actual sort of moment it comes, but Superman saves there's like an alien spaceship or whatever it is going down the road, trashing a bunch of cars, and it's just a great scene of Superman like saving a bunch of people, in particular a family who the car goes off the bridge and he grabs it. I will say there's a great panel here of him like holding up the car and flying up. It looks beautiful. The only slight nitpick I have with it, because it is otherwise gorgeous, is the way the trunks are drawn in this panel. They look like a thong. Because they're like, I don't know, for some reason they're skinnier and they just look like...
You're saying Clark needs to adjust his undies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But other than that, it looks beautiful. And you know, the way he talks to the kids after the land about because the kid offers these little flash stuffed dog.
His flash dog, and Superman's like, no, you know what? He can stay with you. He'll help keep you safe. And it's those little moments is why I love when Johnson writes Superman, because he gets it right. Like, it's just this little interaction between kids after he's saved them from certain doom, and then Superman just plays it off like, yep. No, here, this is for you guys.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think what Federici's art does now that we're back on Earth is that it makes a lot of these moments when we're not doing Superman action, we're just doing drama with characters talking to each other. It makes them feel a lot more grounded. It makes it feel more like I'm reading a prestige book, because we get this scene at the UN where they've invited Superman and he brings John and Kara and the Steels to come and talk, and basically Earth is a little concerned that this Warworld's just hanging out above in orbit, and like, this is a bunch of criminals, this is a bunch of these war zones, like, can we trust them? And Superman has to make this speech about how we have to be welcoming, and he wants the same courtesy for them that he got, and they won't be here for too long, but some of them have shown an interest in wanting to make Earth their home, and they should be given that up. And we get like panels of like different people around the world watching this speech, eventually leading to Lex watching it, which obviously leads us into like the other path of the episode, or the issue, I should say.
Is this the first time we've had Johnson writing Lex? Because it's the first time I can remember.
Do I hadn't thought about it, but you may be right. Yeah. This might be the first time he's written.
Because his Lex is spot on. Yeah. Just the pettiness in the voice and the way that he sees this, and then immediately sends his presence into like into one of his robotic suits, but it's just a drone for him to go check out Warworld on his own. And they're just like, man, this is very much a Lex thing. I'm glad we have Evil Lex back.
Oh, sure, yeah. I love the whole TV speech, though. Obviously, it's a good speech the way he talks, but the most funny is that the cutting around the people around the world watching in different places. It's only a couple of panels, but it reminded me, of all things, it reminded me of the opening of WrestleMania 17, in which they showed like all these families watching WrestleMania in like different places. But it was really stupid because you could only get it via pay-per-view at the time, and it was people watching like little portable TVs in the desert. And I'm like, how's that getting pay-per-view? There's no way that's got pay-per-view.
WrestleMania 17 or WrestleMania X7?
I'm calling it 17. Piss off. I'm not calling it X7. I'm not doing it. But that's what made me think of. Except this is actually more suitable for the content, because he's making a speech about, like, WWF like to think that they're this important, but this is actually, in context of the universe, this is a very important speech that it should be inspiring everyone.
Right. Well, and it gave me vibes of the Donner movies too.
Oh, sure.
Right. Like you have that classic feeling of the world tuning in to listen to Superman because he's Superman, and in the current day where it's.
Although I think you'll find that the actual scene with him at the UN making a speech is actually from Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
But you know what I mean. No shade to that movie. I know we have a listener that's a big fan. But yeah.
Oh, that's right. Talking Superman loves that movie.
He does.
I mean, I kind of love it as well, but I love it because it's stupid and dumb.
Right.
Like, I love it because it's like nuclear man, not nuclear man, nuclear man.
Nuclear, yeah. Anyway, but no, it's just the stuff with his speech and them. I just feel like over the last couple of years we've had a lot of the mistrust of Superman stuff, and I'm glad that Johnson's not going into that, because even Bendis kind of treaded there a little bit with him giving up his identity, right? And here it's just like, no, Superman's making a speech and no one but Lex is really questioning him, right? And it's like, well,
but even Lex is like, because I think it's I assume it's Mercy or whatever comes in and not Mercy. What's his usual? Is it Mercy?
No,
that's okay. Mercy. I'm second guessing myself.
Right?
There's too many comic book characters, all right. Some of these smaller ones, like I get second guessed to myself. But yeah, so she comes in and says, "Is this going to affect Project Blackout?" And he's like, "I don't know yet." So it's not even so much that because obviously back in the early days he questioned Superman because he thought, oh, maybe he's not actually good for the world. Now it's more like he knows that's not true. He knows Superman is good for the world. It's just, does he benefit my interest? Is he going to get in the way of what I've got planned? That's the current problem now.
That's capitalist Lex in a nutshell.
Oh yeah.
What's he going to do to impact my bottom line?
So obviously Lex is going to try and flip this around and hopefully convince the world that this is a bad idea. So he sends up one of his suits and sort of like remote controls it, and we get a sort of representation that he's sort of digitally in the suit, so he's still sort of looking around from it. But he goes to War World and looks at the war zones and looks down on them, thinks it's a pit, says the Earth would be this way now if it wasn't for him. That's the ego coming in.
That's the line that was like, yep, Johnson gets it. Johnson writes Lex very well.
Yeah, he says he's got a mutual friend that's been keeping tabs on Superman for him. Do we have an idea of who that?
No, it's gotta be either someone that was on Superman's team.
Yeah.
Right? So like Apollo Midnighter, Manchester Black, someone like that, or it's a previously unknown character.
Interesting. But he goes to up one of the dead creatures and says, "Oh, like someone could do great things with this." So my suspicion is that he wants to like use like one of these monsters as a puppet to make the Earth believe that Warworld's a threat and that everyone on it's dangerous. To again, that idea for the battle of like public opinion, which is my favorite thing about Lex versus Superman. It's this thing that's in Birthright is that he tries to convince everyone that Superman's this alien terrorist, and it's all about Superman either intentionally or otherwise proving that that's not the case, that he's there to help and that he's a good person and so on. Yeah. So
and it lines up with the Superman for all seasons of 2. Is like everything was going fine until Superman showed up.
Yeah. But in reality, everything was going fine with Superman until Lex tried to interfere and mess things up.
Exactly.
So, and then the next part of the book is Superman with Lois and them having this very beautiful page, might I add, of them flying in the sky. And it's like, I think it's like sunset. And, again, very moody. There's a lot of atmosphere that comes from Federici's art that I think just adds a lot of weight to every scene that's in this book. There's just this kind of tone, and it's the opposite of cartoony. It feels like there's emotion and weight to everything that's in the art on top of the words, as well as So so they have this beautiful thing, but they're talking about the two kids. So Clark's brought back the two Thelosian kids from War World, and it's like, hey, they need a place to stay, and at least Lois seems to be happy enough to keep them, and talks about how they kind of missed a lot of John's childhood because he skipped that time. So in a weird way, it's kind of like hitting a sweet spot that she was missing, because every time John would go away, she'd kind of forget sometimes that he'd grown up already. Yep.
Like in her mind, when he's not there, he's still the little kid, and then he shows back up as a teenager, and it's like it makes her feel sad, but not like super sad. Just kind of like, oh man, I missed out on my kid's life.
Yeah, there's like a bitter element to it. So
yeah, bitterness, bittersweetness to
bittersweet,
it.
yeah. So I don't know if like how long this is going to last, or if they're going to keep these kids around as two adopted children. But I'm not against the idea.
Yeah, no, and I like it. It also plays into Johnson's that whole House of L, where we had the future, right?
It does. It also ties in just in general to like Superman. Obviously, is pro-adoption because he was adopted himself,
Right.
so it makes sense that he would have some adopted children.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I liked when Johns and Donner wrote that Last Son arc, and we had Chris Kent show up, and he was adopted because and Clark brings up, he's like, yeah, Mom and Pa took a chance on me. It's only right that I take a chance on this kid. And so I like that. But yeah, it made me think of the House of L and thinking like, man, how many kids did Lois and Clark have? It's like, well, no, dummy. Like clearly half of them are adopted, right? And then I started thinking about the different ones. And you have the one that's like a war zone, and then you have the ones that take John's name and the Kent name and all this other stuff. And it's just all about legacy, not just like bloodline, but just the legacy of Superman. And that I feel this is where that starts. Regardless of that future comes to pass or not, it starts with Clark taking these two in Metropolis.
Yeah. Although presumably some of them will be John's kids and Supergirl's kids down the line as well. Right. So you got the whole extended shebang. Final scene of the issue is probably my favorite, which is Lex going to Strikers, goes into Metallo's cell, and I love that Metallo just types "get out, get out, get out." Like, he doesn't want to work with Lex; he wants to be good. No. And it does make you feel bad. And I think what's interesting is that even though he's ultimately probably going to agree to do whatever this is, it's going to feel more like Metallo is being manipulated and puppeted by Lex than he's just being evil on his own, which gives that a chance that Superman could get through to him and maybe convince him to do or not do something. But yeah, that's the it ends with Lex saying, "Hey, I've got this tech. Here's an orphan box from a thingy. Join me and fight these aliens again." So that's a great ending. It sells the villainous nature of Lex, that he's manipulating Metallo into this, and it both makes you excited for what's going to happen, but also sympathetic for Metallo. I think this was a great final scene. I was.
The one that got me was when Lex is running down the stuff that he's done. And it's like, that's why you're here, but I know you're a good soldier. And it's almost like Corbin's past all that. He's like, no, this has not worked out well for me. My brain is in a machine, and I need a kryptonite heart to operate it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. So the get out part and all of that is really what drove that scene home to me. That even he knows, like, Lex means trouble.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in previous iterations of Metallo, he would have been like, yeah, I want out of here any way necessary. But it's almost like he's like, no, I need to do my time. So I like that a whole lot.
Yeah, I also feel like him listing all those things, assault, armed robbery, kidnapping, terrorism, murder. I feel like that's just more manipulation. It's like, hey, here's all these things and all the reasons why you effectively have to do what I'm going to tell you to, because it's your only hope of ever getting out of here. It's your only hope of ever having any sense of freedom or anything else. Yeah. So it makes Lex be super villainous. It makes Metallo be this sympathetic villain who's being controlled. And he looks great here. So I think this is a phenomenal main story. I was sorry to talk about the backup, but I love the main story.
Yeah.
The backup, obviously the art can't compare.
No, it's still good. Like, I don't mind it, but comparing it to Federici, it's just it's apples to oranges.
It feels a bit more old school. It's a bit simpler, flat colors, all that stuff. Whereas Federici has the shaded, muted colors that everything feels very organic and this feels more like a Saturday morning cartoon, this last chunk. But it's basically them waking up Thallo, if I'm remembering the name right, and Warworld appearing, them all getting ready to fight, thinking it's they're going to war, and then it turns out no, this is Superman returning with the team. So everything's just okay. And that's basically it. The only thing that it kind of teases for this backup next time is that a couple of Mongols loyalists are showing up on Earth wanting revenge for Superman being in part and taking Mongol down.
Led by Chaytil, who was the guy that was missing limbs. So Warworld strikes back, basically. And well, I'm sure we'll see the super family put them in their place.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fine little story for the backup.
Yeah.
To sort of flesh that out a little bit. I will say having the same writer on the backup does make it feel more relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though it was hard to adjust to the art change for this one.
Well, and I like too that it kind of he's playing with time in this. Is that in the main story, this has already kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've come in because they talk about that the Steels are starting up this new energy initiative in Metropolis using the energy that they've I forget the Genesis, right?
Yeah,
Genesis energy. Yeah, so and here it seems like they're just getting that started.
They're harnessing the power of Phil Collins.
And Peter Gabriel, don't forget him.
Yes.
But yeah, and I like the Thala stuff just because she's almost got this not survivor's guilt, but like she's almost incredulous that this actually happened, that Superman was able to defeat Mongol, because she was there to Superman brings up that she wore, or was it Superman one of the others, that, she wore his symbol in defiance.
Yeah, it was Superman, because she wakes up and says, you did this, and she's like, no, you did this because you wore that symbol and kept that idea alive.
And I do like that, with that, of course she's not automatically believing, like, she is from this world where she was very badly mistreated. It's going to take a lot more. So her being skeptical of it, I thought was a nice character beat.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I hope it's her that brings Channel in, because I feel like she needs some, not resolution, closure.
Who's a win?
Yeah, she needs the win. And I feel like I feel like this is Kenny letting her take the lead after being sidelined throughout most of the World Saga.
Yeah. All right, well, what are you going to give Action Comics 1047?
I'm giving this a 9.
I'm going to agree with you again. It is a 9 out of 10. And most of that's the main story more than the backup. The backup's fine, but the main story's excellent. So, love it. Great. All right. DC versus Vampires, issue 9. James Tynion IV and Matthew Rosenberg writing, with Otto Schmidt on the art. So we're getting near the ending of this now, and we have the 3 different plans playing out, and we sort of jump between them throughout the issue. So we kick off with Smallville, where the human farms are being run that Green Arrow's coming in to try and stop, and Buana Beasts is one of the vampires. Oliver burns them all in the barn on the Kent farm.
but I need a survivor, so go tell your king Queen was here. That was a baller line. I like that.
Yeah.
Also, leave it to Rosenberg to throw Grifter in here. He couldn't help himself.
Oh, that's later on. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I was like, this guy, that's got to be him, right?
Yeah.
He's wearing the red bandana.
So we have Oliver's stuff, which I'll sort of stick the Oliver stuff on its own first. Where he ends up like killing someone outside the fence, and Grifter's there and gives him some information. It turns out the leader of this camp is Hawkman. We find out later on. And Oliver makes this big stand. We also get, I do like the introduction to him during Grifter's scene though, because he's kind of like impersonating the tumbleweeds in the background, and then kind of comes out and he's like wearing this big bushy like coat to try and pretend to be foliage. So we're getting like proper hunter Oliver Queen here.
It's like a ghillie suit that people wear in the woods to hunt Bigfoot or whatever. So
but yeah, he's looking for the leader of this camp, which turns out to be Hawkman. So we get a big reveal of that towards the end of this show.
And the whole Hawkman Oliver Queen dynamic too. I love that. I love that they don't like each other. So them being opposite ends here is pretty good.
Yeah, and then of course the stuff on the boat with Supergirl and Steel and all that going to Australia to try and help get Supergirl's powers back and get access to the sun again.
Yeah, with Black Manta.
Black Manta, although we get a big reveal this issue about who that actually is, because we just assumed it was Black Manta.
Yeah.
And when Aquaman shows up from the water, Black Manta takes off the helmet, and it turns out it's Mira who is wearing the Black Manta suit.
Black Mira. So I like that reveal. It wasn't just a shock factor thing. It was that, Arthur got corrupted. She had to get out of there. And the one thing she could do is put on, the enemy suit. And I like to think that it keeps her safe from vampire stuff. But But that action sequence was pretty well done. I think that's, for me, that was Schmidt's high point of the issue.
Yeah. I think the high point for me was probably all the Oliver stuff, because there was a lot of great stuff where he was like firing arrows, and it was like one panel where he's standing with lots of arrows in the ground around him. It just looks really good. Maybe it's just because Otto Schmidt did the Green Arrow run with Percy that I was just getting some some of the good old times.
That makes sense.
Because he kills like a big brute. I don't even know who this character is. I think he was a new guy.
I don't remember
Loose
either.
Cannon, who then calls Loose Change after he takes him out. But it does look like Jaina bites the dust. I mean, maybe we'll find out she's okay next issue, but it looks like Arthur makes her explode when she's being a water bear.
So that's what got me, is that usually, like, we've seen that she couldn't, like, she survived in water, right? Because she can take the form. But there was blood in it this time. So I don't know if it's looking good for Jaina in her revenge,
Yeah, she might have bit the dust.
Yeah.
But no, they have like a bit of a fight sequence, but this ended a bit of a cliffhanger though, because Kara gets knocked out into the water and she seems to be like pulled down by a part of the boat she's tied to. So that's her predicament. The Batgirl, Harley, Black Canary, and Frankenstein gang that are trying to get into Gotham and having no luck. They're basically bickering at Harley for not knowing any good ways in. And Damien shows up at the end and like, wait, but you're a vampire. It's like, yeah, I'm a vampire, but I'm also your only hope of killing Dick. So let's go. So obviously the audience, we've been set up that Damien's still working for the good side, but obviously these characters, this is news to them. So yeah, no, it's a really fun issue. I think the Green Arrow stuff's probably the highlight. I think that's where the best art is. I think it's where the pacing's the best. I think the other plots are building up to some big stuff for the next couple of issues. Obviously, this all feels like that these last like 4 or 5 issues of the whole thing feel like these are all just going to be the continuous stories that are happening through all of them. So I'm still having a fun time though, and I'm liking just some of these characters getting the spotlight is always, that's one of the fun things about these books. The same thing with Deceased, where all of a sudden some B and C list characters who don't normally get to be the central figures. Green Arrow, I wouldn't put that far down the list, but Green Arrow's not had a book now in like 3 years, so he kind of is owed some time to be the center of attention.
There's that. There's Jaina, them elevating Jaina up because of what happened to her brother. So I hope she's gonna be able to reform, but who knows at this point.
Supergirl's getting to be important. So it's good stuff. I had a fun time. All right, what are we giving the book?
I mean, it's 7.5.
I'll nudge up. I'll say 8 out of 10. I think it was a pretty solid issue. So there you go. Task Force Z issue 12. Matthew Rosenberg, that's that name again, with Eddy Barrows on the art. So I did not catch up. I should have, but I forgot that I didn't read the last issue, so it was too much work to catch up this week. When I say this week, I mean today. Go on, Matt. Tell us all about the final issue.
As where we left off is there's a guy wearing a Red Hood costume. That's not Red Hood.
Connor.
Bane was. What's that?
Connor.
Yeah, Connor.
He's wearing Red Hood.
There was a Gotham, the guy, Gotham Girl's brother, was masquerading as Bane, and Bloom is running roughshod, and everything comes to a head here, where Jason Todd has Bloom, and he's just kind of throwing all the forces at him, and he's explaining that this is all what needed to happen, for Bloom to fully realize everyone's true potentials. And he goes, and Jason has him dead to rights, and then Bloom's like, isn't that right, Two-Face? And it would seem that Two-Face has been playing everybody the entire time. And so
what?
Right? And so that's where Bloom's like, yeah, I'm not gonna kill you. He is. And that's where you see the voice stuff, or like the word box switch to the Two-Face type font. But then Two-Face yells at Jason Todd, he goes, hey kid, duck. And then he shoots Bloom in the face. And he was just like, yeah, I'm not going to let that guy take ruin everything that I worked so hard for. This was my chance at a second chance, or this is my shot at a second chance. I'm not letting anyone ruin this for me. And yeah, so the team ends up, going nuts, and it would seem that Bloom's defeated, and we don't, probably haven't seen the last of him, but he gets taken out by Gotham because Gotham's pretty upset that he was used as a pawn in all of this. And they all kind of gang up on him, and Jason's like, he goes, Two-Face, is that an all act? He's like, well, not really, but at this point, who's Two-Face, who's Harvey? I'm trying to get right, and I'll do it by any means necessary. And so it leaves it with a more hopeful Harvey, and he tells Jason, he's like, hey man, there's a guy up there in your suit. You have a free pass for the first time in a long time, so take it from me. Don't let this pass you up. And so Jason's gonna go off on his own, and him and Harvey, before they leave, he asks him, he's like, so is Powers International gonna do any, like, not serve any justice? What's the word I'm looking for? Are they gonna be held accountable for any of this? And Harvey's like, I was a DA. I'll give you 2 guesses. And so, Powers gets to keep their hands clean. They're gonna pin this on Bloom and everything. They offer the rest of the Lazarus resin to Gotham so he can be resurrected. Gotham declines it and says that, no, I want to have, my last moments be good with my sister. I didn't deserve this second chance. Let's let it go to those that do need it. And it's kind of a bittersweet ending for him and, from Gotham Girl. Then that backup, I forget what it was in. I think it was Tech. I can't quite remember. But, Gotham Girl's still all upset, but so now she actually gets to say goodbye to her brother. Jason goes to leave, and he's hopping a train out, and Steph comes to see him, and he's like, I hope you're not going to try to stop me. She's like, no, but I knew you survived. You're a bat. Like, we were so good, but, I wanted to come and say proper goodbyes. And she goes, I noticed you're going to West Texas. He goes, yeah, it's a good place. It's wide open spaces where, it's easy to get lost. She goes, I also happen to know that's where the Joker was last seen. And he kind of, looks away, and they say their goodbyes. It goes back to Two-Face, and he's, without Waller, without anyone else, he takes the rest of the Lazarus resin and plugs it all into the rest of his team, except for Man-Bat, or he tells Man-Bat, you deserved, this chance to rest. And it looks like Two-Face is going to lead this undead team to, it's what's going to give him his fully second chance. And that's where the book ends. So it almost, it's kind of one of those the end question marks.
Feels like it's setting up a story for something else.
Something else. So, and I do know that it's setting up the Jason stuff for that Joker book that's coming out. And it feels like we're not done with Two-Face and the Task Force Z.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seems like Bloom, maybe he'll pop back up, but, we see the clones from Powers off on vacation in a tropical island, sitting at a bar watching the news as it, describes everything that's happened. And yeah, overall, this issue is fine. It's everything wrapping up, but just, setting up Jason's next story, and then what's going on with Two-Face, if there's another, follow-up or anything. I really like that. But, as a full, 12-issue arc, it does kind of get messy here towards the end, where I still don't know exactly what Bloom's endgame was.
I kind of felt like, when I think part of the reason why this fell down the priority ladder for me as we were going on is because I think the entire last half of it started to feel like it was almost squeezing into, like it was meant to be like at least an 18-issue run, and it was being squeezed into 12, because some of the issues were just flying through so many things. Yep,
and that's here. We started to get a lot more characters popping back up, and, this whole Lazarus resin, and the whole Bane with, Gotham as Bane is a thing to control, Jason, because he's going to want to get his revenge and whatnot. And that was how he was able to keep him in line, But yeah, no, it's a fine series, and the fact that it's made me like Rosenberg so much, I am probably going to check out that Joker book, which goes against every fiber of my being. But if it's, Jason hunting the Joker out in Texas, that's a story I am not upset about. So, but yeah. So I'll give this issue a 7. And just for fun, the whole series at this point, it's about a 7.5. So, if you're listening to this and you haven't read any of it, I think, if you can catch a cheap collection, it's worth a read. Like, it's pretty fun, especially early on. It's just one of those crazy.
Yeah, it was never a must-read book. It was just kind of a fun, weird kind of side thing.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. There you go. All right. The Human Target, issue 7. Tom King writing with Greg Smallwood on the art. We have been, well, you just literally just did it. We've been rubbing our hands together, waiting for this return. And this is the issue where Chance is talking to Fire, and they're at like a jazz club or something, and she is flirting so much with him. She's making all these little suggestions. She wants him to dance with her. So much of it is this, and there's even some like criminals that show up at one point that she just kind of easily takes care of. I mean, that's the implication anyway. So all good stuff. But she then says, I like Ferris wheels. Can you get me a Ferris wheel? So Christopher Chance pretends to be Lex Luthor, or pretends to be working for Lex Luthor, and gets this Ferris wheel opened up. So they go up on the Ferris wheel, and she keeps asking him things like, "Oh, do you want to kiss me?" Most people say yes. Things like that. What we actually find out later on, though, is that she's effectively testing him to see if he's going to cheat on ice. The idea that, will he betray her best friend?
So playing with the tropes of this book about the murder mystery and whatnot, and Chance is the hard-up detective, it had always felt that Fire was more of the femme fatale than Ice. Although over the past 6 issues, we kind of feel like there's something going on with Ice that's a little bit more shady. This, at least the first half of this issue, really leans into Fire as the femme fatale.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The way that she's flirting, the seductiveness, just the constant, keeping him on his toes. And it's also the way she's drawn. Like, she has this smirk almost on every single page.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And them at the club, and you only get kind of glimpses of her at first. Nothing's ever a full shot, and she's, never looking straight at the camera. She always has something to hide. It's adding more and more to that femme fatale vibe. So then when you get to the end, it's all an act because she's testing him for ice. And that was a nice touch.
And not that Ice has asked her. This is something that Fire's doing on her own independently.
Yeah, it's the best friend test, right? Yeah. You gotta make sure the best friend has to make sure the guy's legit.
Yeah, and he tells a story in his narration about how he caught his dad crying a week before his death, and how his dad would say everything's okay, but it was a lie, and of course a week later he was dead. And we hear this in the narration just as he's jumping off the Ferris wheel to test to see if Fire will save him.
Yeah.
So we get this great full-page spread of this green flame chasing down after him as he's upside down, just falling for it. It's just a beautiful page. And they're walking back, and then she's like, "Oh, what about now? Do you want to kiss me now?" And it does this sort of, the cut. You turn the page, and this is after she slapped him a bunch of times because he keeps accusing her of being the murderer. You had the motive, you had the weapon, and she keeps slapping him, and then smiles when she's wearing nothing. Because I think the implication is that when she burned into a flame to go catch him, it burned all her clothes. So she's butt-ass naked except she's wearing his jacket. So you get this big full page spread where the jacket is just slightly opening, so you're just getting a little bit of the body in between, and she's got this smile and she's saying, "Do you want to kiss me now?" And you get this page turn where he's getting up in bed, he mentions her being next to him, and then there's this sort of relief as the reader as it's Ice that wakes up in the bed next to him, and it's like, oh, he didn't mess up. he didn't he didn't fall for the bait, as it were. And he tells us in the narration that Ice came over late last night, and they didn't even really say anything. He just felt the chill in the room, and then they got intimate, and then they get intimate again in the shower in the morning. We see that as well. Which I particularly like, this idea of all the steam. Obviously, there's steam in the shower anyway, but the idea that she's making ice and the water's...
It's extra.
Yeah. really, really foggy. But all just beautiful concepts. And then they go to see Fire, and Fire does what he tell Chance, whatever. But she tells Ice that he's good. He didn't fall for the bait. He's a good one. But it's all building up, and I love the way the final page or final couple of pages plays this. Where she's like, yeah, I did take the money, I did help so and so, I did help Booster and all that stuff. But she's worried about telling him because, you're going to kill him, and he's like, no, like, it's fine, like, I'm investigating this. So you get this thing where the narration is just in the top corner of each panel on the last page as she's building up to saying who it is. He says, 7 days ago I was murdered, 6 days ago I met Ice, 3 days ago we kissed, yesterday we killed a superhero, and then the final panel, Fire at least implicates, we don't know for sure, but implicates that Guy is the one who did it, and it's like, oh shit, he's already murdered him.
Oh, and Ice, right?
And both of them together. Yeah, they mentioned that as well, that Ice, like, cleaned the crime scene with her powers to like absolute zero, as she said.
Yeah, she cleaned the crime scene, and then no one has asked about Guy, which I was, this version of Guy I get, that's not a slight, because this one was a bit of an a-hole. So
this one,
but in the main continuity, he's a lovable a-hole. Here he was an abusive prick, but no one in the Justice League's asked about him or anything. They seem to be in the clear. So the fact that we just seem to get a confirmation from Fire that Guy is responsible for this makes me wonder where the last half of this is going.
Assuming that's right, but I do love how the art in the last page, like, the last 3 panels are close-ups of their eyes, and, like, Ice is assuring her, we won't kill whoever this is. I mean, come on, we're good guys, we don't kill anyone. And then the next panel, we killed a superhero yesterday, and then the last panel, oh yeah, Guy's the one, and they've already killed him. So it's this weird... There's a really cool flow to it, as the subject is brought up, it's kind of dismissed, and then it's like, oh no, not only will you kill him, you already have. There's a great curve to the information being revealed in this last page that I really like. The way it goes through your mind. And you can sort of tell it's building up to Guy, the way she describes him. It's like, he's crazy, but he's sweet, and he tries to, so, and obviously Guy wasn't trying to kill Chance, he was trying to kill Luthor, as we've been tearing throughout the whole list,
right,
the whole series.
Because he was responsible for the death of Ice.
Yeah.
And which really, yes. Which I'm still wondering how this plays on with Chance, because I still think that this is the human target, of this,
Oh yeah, I still think there's going to be a swerve in the last issue that this is all a human target ploy. To catch who something is. And it wouldn't even surprise me if Guy ends up in on it and his death was faked. It would not shock me one bit.
Nope. And it makes me wonder if this is all Ice, right? Because the title of the song that's being sung in the jazz club is "There's a Little Bit of Dad in Every Good Little Girl," and it's a song. It's a jazz standard from 1916. So it's a 100-year-old song. And as you're reading along, all it did is made me think of Ice, because there's a line that says, "I know a preacher's daughter who never orders water," meaning that she only orders the bad, and so it's the lyrics in there are just kind of pointing, like, maybe it wants you to think that it's about fire, right? But by the end of it, it's, to me at least, it's clearly the song's about Ice.
Yeah, I also think it's maybe too obvious that it's Ice, and I also think that maybe there's a line that he has here. I'm the human target. I win by dying. He says that to Fire at one point in this issue, and I'm like, yeah, so this poison's all part of the plan. This is what we're building to.
Well, and I love how she gets upset that it's like, you're gonna take a risk. You're gonna risk your life on if I was gonna save you or not, and that's where he says, I'm the human target. I win by dying. And then she gets real upset, and that's where one of the stops come from. But yeah, God, man, the Smallwood art throughout here, the way that he plays with the shadows, again, like when they're walking through the city and it's like they're going past lights, just the way that sometimes they're in darkness, sometimes they're in light, and the way that plays the colors, it's just, man, it's perfect. And then they get to the Ferris wheel, and it's just like sun washed because it feels like the sun's coming up. Oh man, it's just so good.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Joe, it says something to the quality of the last like 3 issues that I think this is on the lower end of this book's quality.
Mhm.
I'm still going to give it a very high rating. It's still extremely good, but those last like 3 issues we had before the break were all like 9.5 and 10 out of 10 kind of levels. This is a 9 out of 10. It is great. But it's not the peak of the book as we've had it so far.
And after having a break, and this feels like a nice re-entry.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like it's not a big, huge one out of the gate. And I think that
there's also the reminding is, and let's not forget that one shot was it was Ice who was going to talk to all these different people about Human Target. So maybe that's also a hint that she was
she's feeling him out.
Yeah.
As much as he's feeling her out, and because she went to talk to Guy, right? It was Guy, Fire, and who was the third one? Because there's 3 stories.
Booster. How I say Booster?
Yeah, that's right. That Booster story was so funny. Guy just wanted to die, and Booster wouldn't let him. But yeah, so man, that last page, like you were talking about with the eyes, just going back and forth, it's so cinematic.
Yep.
I can see it as it plays out. And same with that Ferris wheel scene where you follow the word balloons up as it's going, right? As it's reaching to its height. And you're following the conversation there. It's another cinematic, man. Smallwood's so good.
Yeah.
Worth the wait, for sure.
Yeah, it adds so much gravitas to all these moments. And the dialogue's very good because Tom King's knocking it out of the park with this.
Yep.
But the art just sort of elevates it so much. And kind of the same way that I was saying Federici's art was elevated Action Comics this week, I think this, is throughout, and this is, the great thing about these 12-issue books is that they're going out of their way to make them these consistent pieces where it's the same artist the whole time. So it truly feels like both of their baby, in that sense, as opposed to an ongoing book where, an artist will be on like 4 issues in a row and then they'll swap out and so on and so on. So, it's great. So, I already said 9 out of 10. What are you rating that?
9 out of 10. I agree.
Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah, excellent stuff. All right, cool. Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead, issue 1, Bruce Campbell writing with Eduardo Risso on the art. So obviously there was a morbid curiosity of like, what is Bruce Campbell like as a comic book writer? And the weird thing is that it's not like I'm going to recognize any Bruce Campbellness in it because he's writing a comic book. He's not writing himself.
Now, did you read Sergeant Rock as Bruce Campbell though?
No, I didn't. No,
I tried and it just didn't work.
No, I don't think he is. I get the sense that he's probably a fan of this character and that's why he's here for this. Shout out to the Gary Frank cover, who's not the interior artist, but it was nice to see all the same.
Yeah, I mean, and Eduardo Risso, not a slouch of an artist.
No. Fits this kind of moody time period, which is obviously World War II. Nazis are making zombies. Hitler's upset that they're losing some of their fronts and kills one of his generals.
Well, because it looks like Hitler's already been zombified.
Yeah, he cuts off the head of this guy and makes his doctor go and make sure you go and see this happens kind of thing.
Yeah. Which if you know that if he's been zombified and you know how Hitler meets his end, it all fits in with history. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And we get introduced to Sergeant Rock. We also get introduced to a couple of privates who end up dying because they see some Nazis coming and they shoot them, but of course they're zombies, so they keep getting back up and they die. And this is how the Allies find out that there's possibly Nazi zombie stuff. So there's a great little character beat here where Sergeant Rock is telling his platoon to stop complaining that they're on traffic duty because they're just helping a convoy, get to, through, war country basically.
Right.
And their complaint says, no, this is like a victory march. This is like, these supplies are important to winning the war. But as soon as he gets the letter saying that they've got a level 9 like priority assignment they have to go to now, he's like, beast traffic duty. He uses the same term that they used that he was giving them shit for. So it just shows you that, now we've got something more important to do. This is shit. Let's go and do our duty is the main thing. So yeah, this is very much, it's all set up, this issue, because we get basically the debriefing where they go and get shown that zombies exist and Sergeant Rock thinks it's weird. They're confused. They're like, oh shit, this could be a big deal if this happens. So they're planning and saying, okay, this is what we have to do. We think this is where they're making the zombies based on like the trucks that are going there, based on like the traffic. This is where we think their zombie making base is. We have to stop this. So they get a bunch of like new tech, which is obviously all old school to us, but they're impressed with walkie talkies, which they call it. What do they call it again?
Talkie.
Handy talkies, they call them.
Handy talkies, yeah.
Yeah. And then they're given night vision goggles and thermal vision scopes, and they're like, whoa, we can see them through the wall because of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like a fish out of water style kind of bit of humor for a few pages, but it's entertaining and stuff. But the Nazi zombie they've got held in a cage actually breaks out, and they have to like fight it. There's a big kerfuffle. The art here's quite fun. The zombie face is very sort of cartoony zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think of just the Return of the Living Dead or just some of the better zombie designs in movies. And fighting all the soldiers, eventually like they just mow it down with lots and lots of bullets, and eventually pop the head, which they don't seem to have figured out that the headshot's what they need yet, but
no, but they'll get there because Campbell and Risso are really leaning in on that, right? But it's going to be a discovery that these military guys have to make on their own. Yeah, it's not something they'll just know.
And then the end of the issue is that the Nazis wake up a new super zombie that can talk. Because the zombie gets up and says, Ich liebe wieder, whatever that means.
Let me pull that up. That's because that is I am. Maybe it's I am alive.
No, isn't Liebe love?
I'm not sure.
Because Ich heiße is my name is. So maybe it is I have or I am.
Yeah. Because I remember the famous Kennedy.
Yeah.
So he says we're all Berliners.
What's Wieder? Wieder. What's that?
I'm pulling this whole phrase up.
Translate.
Yeah. Ich liebe.
Come on, Google Translate. Come on.
Not Wielder. It autocorrected on me.
You have autocorrecting your laptop? That's weird.
Yeah. Well, when I say that, I mean my hand did it. All right. It is not translating in English.
It's not translating. Why do I let you do this? It'd be 5 times faster if I did it.
I know. It's I live again. So I am alive. Yeah.
All right. I live again. Okay.
So yeah, whoever this dude is, I'm always a fan of in comics and pulp stuff in movies, the Nazis playing with the occult.
Sure. Yeah.
So them doing zombies. Little disappointed it wasn't like it's actual like science zombies, and the way that they describe it is, they're using this chemical and this electrical current, and it's bringing them. I was kind of hoping for some more magic-y kind of stuff.
Oh no, I think I was always expecting some mad science. As far as the writing goes from Campbell, I mean, it reads quite well. It doesn't feel overly wordy or.
Yeah, it's fine. Like it's nothing. Yeah, I read through it real quick.
Yeah.
Like I had this for last. I let Pete know I had a couple things to do.
I wouldn't.
And I was,
I wouldn't have ever thought this was like a first timer's attempt at writing a comic. It's, it was written perfectly well.
Has he written TV shows or movies?
I don't know. I don't know if he's got any writing credits. He's probably got a few, maybe. But obviously he's an actor. That's what you think of him first.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been around. Like he's friends with people in Hollywood, so I'm sure, through osmosis. Yeah, I'm sure he's learned from the Raimis. Who else has he worked with a lot?
I don't know if he's worked with anyone else a lot, but he's
done a lot of TV stuff. Yeah, no writing. He's acting, occasionally directing. He writes. It's mostly like essays and stuff, but still.
Okay.
It's not bad. Like I was expecting, not cringe or anything, but I was expecting it to be more like rough around the edges, and it was a solid, World War II zombie book.
Yeah. If you like the Overlord movie, for example, you might be into what this is doing. I would say, so decent time. A lot of vampires and zombies this week because I've got American Vampire later as well, and we've already done a vampire book already. So. And you did Task Force Z, which is kind of zombies as well.
Zombies,
so very zombie and vampire.
Hey, for October 1, that's not bad.
That's true. I mean, this is September's last week of books, but technically, this will go out in October. So, but yeah. All right. So, what are you giving Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead?
I'll give this a solid 7.5. Like, it's not like it's readable. I'm gonna check in for the second issue,
Mm.
but it didn't like knock my socks off.
I thought it was very easy to read. I'd probably
Mm.
give it a nice happy 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rizzo's art fits the time period, fits the horror it's going for. It just has a bit of pulp to it, which is nice. So good. All right. The Nice House on the Lake, issue 10, James Tynion the Fourth with Alvaro's Martinez Bueno. So yeah, it's been a little while since the last issue. So it took me a little minute to settle in and sort of realize where we were with everyone. This issue largely revolves around a lot of the characters testing their injury, like sort of immunity, where they heal right away. So they start shooting at each other and stuff like that. And then the other side of the whole thing is the introduction in flashback to the second artist, who's kind of now this weird obsolete character because now Reggie's back in the main house. But we spend a lot of time with Walter and sort of his control panel of where he controls everything, and how he's like sort of asking for advice from I can't remember the character's name off the top of my head.
From Nora.
From Nora, yeah. Nora's in there sort of learning how to do all this and asking questions about it, and he's explaining, yeah, it's like an RPG creator. I can like control your hair, what you remember, I can control the climate in here, I can do all this stuff, and all these questions. And then when he starts describing that this place was only designed for 10 humans and that he could be in trouble, and if these colleagues or supervisors find out, it could lead to some bad stuff, Nora realizes, oh wait, yeah, it's it's this second artist, she's the problem because she's not really meant to be here, she's like this superfluous character. And basically it kind of implies that maybe they may have to get rid of her. And would you believe it, this character is listening to all this, she's overhearing it all and is in shock at it. And that leads to the big thing at the end of the issue, where once they leave this control room, she goes up and starts messing with it and starts giving everyone their memories back. And one of the big revelations of this issue is that Walter had already erased memories from before they came here, and it turns out that every single one of them helped make part of this place in some way. It turns out Nora, when she remembers at the end, we hear what she remembers. She's like, wait, I helped you design those controls. I helped that. And Walter freaks out because he's like, shit, what have you done? Because people are remembering things. Because when the other character starts messing with the controls and gives everyone their memories back, a lot of the other characters in the house start getting headaches. Like, obviously things are starting to come back to them. So
this is way more control of them than I thought Walter had.
Yeah.
Right? I thought there was a lot more free will going on, but when he's talking about their memories, how long it takes them to resurrect and all of that, I was like, oh my god, what is Walter? Like, is he like a demigod? Is he like an alien? Like, is he an extra dimensional? Like, this got a lot more serious than I thought.
I was just excited because the idea of like effectively opening the hornet's nest, which is giving everyone their memories back. I thought that was really exciting, and especially this idea that all of them in some way helped him build this without realizing that's what they were doing. And then he's erased all of these memories of them helping. That is really fascinating to me. And obviously the other side of it is that because the character's messing with the controls, and we've got these, like, there's a couple of the idiot characters like, oh, shoot me, and they're like sort of like, healing from the bullet wounds. Eventually one of the women says, okay, fine, I'm curious as a doctor, which notably the healer of the group is the one at the end of the issue seemingly is shot, killed, and dead, or at least heavily injured, but I think she's dead. And it seems to be because they take this shot right after the control's been changed that stops the healing happening. And I don't know if that can be reversed after the fact. Can Walter's device bring her back after she's been killed when that's been turned off, or is that just her dead now?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and it seems that each of them were meant to play a role too, right? So we get to that page where it explains what they all do, and it's not the terms that we had seen that were on like the cover, So yeah, the fact that now that we're gonna have two artists and no doctor, I'm sure is gonna get Walter into trouble, right? Like, so, whew.
Well,
big reveals in this one.
Yeah, I think he was already in trouble. He was just hiding it as best as he could up until now.
Right.
So no, I am fascinated by like, because clearly this sort of we get another glimpse in this issue of this like future where things have all went to shit, and it's like they're still in this area, in this biome, wherever it is, but it's like post-apocalyptic and they're all older.
Yep.
Clearly this seems like the start of the dominoes falling towards that future to me, because now they're all going to know, and what are they going to try and do to Walter? Are they trapped in here and Walter's dead in the future? Is that what it is? Or is there some kind of like pro-Walter group versus an anti-Walter group? Because I'm not necessarily saying Nora's siding with him, but it does kind of feel like as they're getting towards the end of the issue, before she gets her memory back at least, it does kind of feel like she's trying to help solve the problems with them and starting to be a part of the decision making. Yeah,
because Walter's still her like friend, right? She doesn't see Walter as this alien creature that's conducting an experiment. It's like, well, no, my friend needs help. And yeah, I also reading this like with what we know about Tynion, I see this as this is how his creative process works, and this was kind of, to me, this was the one piece that kind of solidified that, because he's in control of all of these characters, what they do, what they, and I can kind of see a little bit of Tynion in Walter, and so if you look at it through that lens, and how the story kind of has to come together, and these other people being, whether it's the readers or his editors or whoever, there needs to be an outcome that so it's kind of that cabin in the woods vibe, right? The old gods are kind of the viewers, and all of that. So I think that's an interesting way to look through this.
Through a meta lens rather than anything literal.
Right.
Now, I love the moment though where he says maybe the way to fix this is to just reset everyone back to the start and remove the second artist, and like her reaction, to hearing this is amazing. Like, it's kind of this, because it's so horrific and no one would know. No one would even know that she was missing or gone. Right. So it feels truly demonic. But it's the very next page where Walter says thank you and Nora hugs him. Well, he hugs her, but then she sort of says, yeah, almost like, well, she's kind of still obviously trepidatious about the whole thing. It does kind of feel like there is still some of that friendship there, and that maybe she is still feeling that bond in some weird way, even though she knows about all this. Maybe him opening up and telling her all this is like making it feel a bit more real and making it feel like, oh, in some way we are still friends, even if all of this. So no, it's really great stuff. So yeah, at the end, I do believe it's the Doctor who goes up and is getting shot, and we just, that final page, which is the gunshot, where the gunshot, like the blam reverses, and in the panel, to read backwards, and then you just hear them go Naya, and then it says to be continued. It's the perfect kind of like, oh shit ending of like, just, you get the sense of, you pull out to the wide, you don't see it happen, you just see the gunshot, the sound of it, and just the tranquil surroundings as like the panic is clearly setting in. Perfectly done. Obviously the art's great throughout. Martinez has been great. I guess it works as a bookend. Then the start of the issue is introducing the Doctor and her relationship, because she had her husband is one of the other people, so that makes the ending harder hitting, because he's the one that even convinces her, hey, you should do it, and she goes up and gets the shot. So it's kind of a hard hitting moment. So yeah, no, excellent issue though. So happy to have it back.
And now you look back, and it seems like the memories are scratchy and like shattered.
Yeah.
And
well, that's because he's watching it on a phone. This is a phone recording that he's watching.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, because it's in the future. It's the older version of the husband who's watching on the phone, and then the battery dies.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, it kind of almost sets you up for the ending that she's going to die.
Oh, jeez, I didn't even make that connection at the end.
Yeah.
With that, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the Human Target back in the same week. I don't know what we did to deserve this embarrassment of riches, but here we are. So, yeah, what are you giving Nicest in the Lake issue 10?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
I think the ending worked so well in the way it bookended. I'm going to go with a 9. I think it was excellent.
Okay.
So, Good week for comics is what I'm saying, pretty much. So that'll take me on to a Patreon book every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support the podcast and help keep it coming, should you wish. You can, one of the higher tiers, make myself or Connor read a book. Connor will get around to them someday, he promises he will. But I am here today to talk about American Vampire issue 30. We're in the arc right now where Dracula's been introduced. The end of the last issue was the kid, Felicia, the one Felicia's looking after, attacked Hobbs, so he became under control. I assumed it was because he was, even though he'd been cured, there was still a link to his vampirism from when he was younger. This issue seems to imply that it's more like Dracula's trying to make him his new Renfield, that at any point he can make one human his slave and his like devoted person. And they even have a cool little explanation for why it's Renfield. Like the old myth is that he would take control of someone from the end of the field, and that's how it became the name Renfield, and that's where the name comes from.
Okay.
I don't know. It was a neat little trick they tried to put in, but
because if I remember right, don't they talk about how Bram Stoker? That's how he was part of like the Vampire Hunter Society, and his version of Dracula was kind of him trying to tell the world that vampires exist.
Why? This was something 2 issues ago, Matt. Why are you asking me this in this issue?
I'm just wondering because I feel like I remember that.
I talked about how Bram Stoker fit in when Hobbs explained it 2 issues ago.
I might have missed that episode. That one might have been the one I was going on. Gotcha.
But so we start off with the kid trying to kill Hobbs, and they subdue him. Obviously, Felicia comes in, and it cuts ahead to them traveling in central Germany. They're looking for somewhere, and some of the mythology comes back in here. Hobbs explains that not all vampires are inherently pure evil. The Carpathians, which are the main like monstrous ones that are in the book, they are evil, and those are the ones that are monstrous. And they actually went out of their way to kill most of the other kinds that came before them and that tried to spirit up after them. And this plays out as we see like wolves attack a sheep, and then or sorry, a deer rather, not a sheep. And then a tiger's watching from a distance. The idea that there's always something more vicious. But they go out and they're basically, it turns out they're looking for some of these other vampires that could maybe help. Who obviously aren't thrilled to see them. Meanwhile, we see the Russians who are pissed off that Dracula is gaining more power, and they're threatening his Renfield, Mr. Glass, about it. And it seems like they're going to kill Dracula. They've been ordered that if at any point Dracula is gaining more power, or if anything goes wrong, they should just kill him. So they're going to try and kill him. But we see like Dracula waking up in the coffin and his red eyes, and Mr. Glass does not seem worried at all. But as we're seeing this, it seems like Dracula's waking up a bunch of vampires on a train somewhere, and this train's just full of vampires. And at this point in the issue, you don't really have a context for where this train is. Becomes relevant by the end. So we have Hobbs and Felicia. They do encounter some of these vampires who do attack them at first. There's a bit of a fight, but eventually there's kind of a stalemate that forms, and we actually have a conversation with them. So we have this sort of red-headed vampire lady and this sort of guy with a beard and ponytail. And what's cool is they seem to have like camouflage abilities, because like one of them, because when they're in vampire form, they're kind of more demonic, because they're an older species. And one of them is kind of like goes transparent with the wall, like they can do like sort of chameleon style stuff, which is kind of cool. But yeah, they're obviously there to talk about Dracula and gain help. These vampires are referred to as the First. They're a group of vampires. There's only about 100 of them left all over the world, but they need their help. So Hobbs is there to try and influence them to do so. And they're not getting very far. They're kind of beating up Hobbs a little bit when the kid, Gus, I think his name is, starts yelling and screaming like something's wrong. And that's when we realize that this train of vampires is a train that's traveling nearby, and all these vampires, the big cliffhanger at the end, is they've killed all the humans that were on the train, and they are now walking into this area that they're in with these first vampires. So Dracula's sending an army to try and take them out, or possibly steal the kid. Would be wild, I guess. So no, really good stuff. I think like I've been digging this arc a lot, and I think this might be the least exciting of the bunch, but I still really like how it sets up more mythology stuff. It keeps adding on to this mythology and the idea of the different species of vampire and how each of them sort of fit together and how some of them try to wipe out the others. And this idea that there's some that maybe can be allies. Obviously, we've had Pearl, who's obviously been a good vampire in the past, but the idea that Hobbs does see certain groups as potentially allies, because it's really the Carpathians that they've mostly been hunting. Obviously, they log and they hunt some other kinds occasionally, but this is really opening up the idea, hey, there's other vampires who might actually want to like fight against Dracula. And part of the reasons why Dracula tried to wipe out these races is because he can't control them. He can control the Carpathians. That's the race that he can control like it's nothing. But he can't control these other kinds, which is why he sees them as dangerous. So really cool mythology stuff being added up here. And really enjoyed the kind of the build to all these vampires on the train coming for them. I like how they set that up halfway through the issue, and clearly the Russians are in over their head, or the Soviets I should say are in over their heads, and we'll see how that probably comes up against them next issue. I suspect Dracula's going to feed on all of them, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, and Dracula's going to control the Carpathians, right? And Skinner's an American, so I can't wait to see them bump heads.
That's true. There's not even been a hint of Skinner in this arc so far, but you're just waiting. You're waiting for him to rear his head.
Because he's not going to take someone coming onto his territory very lightly, regardless of who it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Seems like someone's here.
I don't remember the end of this arc, but I do wonder if like they even turn to Skinner, because Skinner might actually want to take out Dracula. So maybe it's an uneasy alliance, if you will.
You said this is from Volume 5? Because I might have to revisit this.
Yeah, this is Volume 5. Yeah, this is issue 30 from Volume 5.
I have that sitting over there. I might pre-read these before we record next, and get re-caught up. Right. So I remembered everything up till Survival of the Fittest, and then it kind of gets hazy.
Yeah, that's the end of the third trade, Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Everything after that gets a little bit hazy, so we'll see.
Yeah, Volume 5 is this arc, and also the second mini, which was, I can't remember what the title of that was off the top of my head, but no, cool stuff. Really digging it. One of my favorite arcs of the book so far, I think. And because Volume 4's arcs were fine, I like the the black vampire in the small town, the jazz stuff. Like that was a good little arc, but the Beast in the Cave stuff, and that may have been Volume 3, but so like there has been a couple of weaker arcs. The stuff in the 50s with the slick greaser teenage vampire, or the vampire hunter, I should say. He was that was again fun. This feels like it's back to pure mythology though, which has always been the biggest strength, I think, of American Vampire, is this building of how it fits all these different types of vampires. It's almost like Snyder was taking vampires and also werewolves and zombies, which they're also kind of classed as types of vampire in this, but taking just all these different vampires from different movies and TV shows and books that he likes, and somehow making them all fit, or versions of them all fit in the same universe. That's the biggest strength of this book. So getting back to like really fleshing that out with the biggest, most well-known vampire there is, Dracula, and fitting him into all that is really cool. So a solid 8 out of 10 this issue, I think. So good stuff. But yeah, that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, top 5 books. So Matt, what is your top moment or panel of the week?
All right, so it's going to be from Action Comics, and it's when right after Superman saves the kids and they offer him the Flash dog. Very quintessential Superman moment, and it made me smile.
Yeah, not shocked. I'm spoiled for choice this week because Action's got a couple things that I could pick. Human Target's got some, Nice House in the Lake's got some. Spoiled for choice. I think ultimately though, I'm also going to go for Action, but I'm going to go for the last page. I'm going to go for the go away or whatever Metallo puts on the screen, and Lex manipulating him. I actually got really excited by that tease. It really hyped me up for the story, so I'm going to pick that, even in the face of very tough competition. Cover of the week. I had a quick glance earlier. I do like the Gary Frank cover for Sergeant Rock. I do like both covers for Human Target, but I think my pick is actually the regular cover for Action.
Okay.
It's this great painted cover. I mean, Superman's face, they're definitely going for this sort of bulky, sort of George Reeves style face, but
Yeah.
I do love that you get a sense of the fabric of the suit and you get this sense of everything. I mean, I love the two covers for Human Target, because you've got obviously the main Smallwood cover and you've got a Matina variant, which is, obviously stunning as well. But no, main action cover, which is good because the variant for action is horrible.
Which one?
If it's the sort of digital painted one, but the faces look like Superman's face looks weird. It's the there's Nathan Zerdy cover. I think looks awful.
Yeah. So in the small, it looks fine, but when you make it look bigger,
yeah,
it's rough.
Yeah, the faces look weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, main action cover for me. What's your cover of the week?
Oh, it's the main Human Target cover.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I saw King tweet that like a week and a half ago, I was like, "This is my jam." She's like a femme fatale. This looks like an old pulp novel cover.
Mm-hmm.
And the green with the reds and the orange yellows, it looks perfect.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Art of the week. What are you picking?
Smallwood Human Target.
I mean, yeah, as good as Federici is, as good as Alvaro Martinez Bueno is, I have to also agree Human Target Smallwood gets the win. All right, so top 5 books of the week, Matt, go.
All right, number 1 is Human Target, 2 is Action Comics, 3 is Nice House on the Lake, 4 is Tech, and 5 is DC versus Vampires.
Yeah, this is a tough week. My number 1 is Action Comics. My number 2 is Nice House on the Lake. My number 3 is Human Target, and that is such a strong top 3. It's not unfair to the rest of the books at that point. My number 4 though would be DC versus Vampires, I guess. Number 5 would be Detective, I think. So there you go. That's my top 5. So yeah, excellent week for comics. I will tell you what is coming out next week from DC Comics right now. So coming next week, we have Batman issue 128. We have Dark Crisis and Infinite Earths issue 5, Poison Ivy issue 5, Dark Crisis The Deadly Green issue 1, which is a one-shot tying into things. We got Sword of Azrael issue 3, Gotham City Year 1 issue 1. Very excited to check that out. Yep. We have The Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing, which I'm also probably going to check out. This obviously is the Rosenberg series that they've been teasing. So I'll have a look. Monkey Prince issue 7, Multiversity Teen Justice issue 5, Black Adam The Justice Society Files Dr. Fate issue 1, Batman Nightwatch issue 2, and Mad Magazine issue 28. So that's all DC books. But also worth mentioning that we are going to be doing a non-DC book next week, which I should point out if I can just... why is Dark Horse so far down this list? There we go. So yeah, Dark Horse book that we're doing next week is Night of the Ghoul issue 1, and that is a Scott Snyder and Francavilla book. So we'll be cycling the odd little book here or there that's non-DC, and that is the first one we're covering. So it's a horror book, obviously, so perfect for October. And we'll be looking at that next week. I mean, I assume Connor will join in, but I'll definitely be reading it and talking about it. So
it is Snyder. He doesn't seem to have the harsh like he does with Tom King. So
no, he likes Snyder usually, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, Francesco Francavilla on the art and Scott Snyder writing. So we'll be looking at that next week as well. But yeah, that is what's coming next week. So yeah, just a reminder, next week it'll be myself and Connor, and then the week after it's a Q&A episode. So by the 10th of October, make sure you get your questions in on @DC Comics Podcast on Twitter, or you can use the email mftvquestions@gmail.com to send in your questions. But give us plenty of them so we can record a nice fun little episode to tide you over when there's no regular episode the week after next week, and then we'll catch up the following week. So that is the plan. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you very much to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Tradesman, and Alison M4 Dice. You can of course support all the content over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. And get some bonuses, including early access to the show at the $5 tier if you would like to get it a little bit early. But go and have a look and see if you're interested. You can also support the show for free by simply liking, subscribing, dinging the bell, sharing us out on the social medias, rating the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. Give us 5 stars and a review. Just generally spread the word, but all of that is good stuff. So thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
It's spooky season.